He is Director of Integrated Communications at Raleigh-Durham International Airport, my favorite airport, where he leads RDU's social, email, and web outreach to travelers, airport employees, tenants, and the rest of Central and Eastern North Carolina. When not tweeting for the airport or hosting RDU's podcast, The Fly Angle, he stays busy parenting a toddler, performing as a local musician, and hunting for the nearest iPhone charging cable. Relatable. Give it up for Jake Potter.
New and improved clicker.
Yeah.
Thank you. How you guys doing? We have limited time together, so I'm not going to cover Twitter Blue. I'm sorry. This won't be about whether you should have a TikTok or how many memes you should post in a day. Please keep that number under 3, by the way. This is just going to be about kind of the experience of what the last few years taught me as a social media communicator and us as an airport about how to just grow closer to passengers and to the community. So 2019 for RDU was a banner year. We had 14 million and change passengers. We were setting records left and right, getting new airlines, getting new concessionaires. And then March 2020 hit, if you remember that time not so long ago. And it looked kind of like this every day. We lost 96% of our passenger volume in basically a week, which is somewhat like getting a right uppercut from Mike Tyson. I had never been in that experience. None of my coworkers had. We have all sorts of crisis communications manuals that don't talk about a multi-year pandemic. So we kind of went into listen mode. We didn't really know exactly what to say, so we didn't say a lot. If 2019 was the year of thrive, 2020 for us was just the year of survive. We slashed our entire budget across the airport, but we also just want to focus on like how we're going to get to the next day operationally. It was hard for us to think about. If you're familiar with like the hierarchy of needs, you know, we got down to that really core basic level of like, we just have to get the next flight out the door, the next tweet out the door. And so we talked about kind of mundane things, about like, we missed wearing pants and haircuts and you guys, because it was genuine. It came from a genuine place. We hadn't even arrived. This was in April 2020. We hadn't even begun the conversation of public health as an airport authority with you guys yet. Nobody was back to experience that yet. We hadn't even put up the 6 feet separation signs. So, you know, as it went along, we didn't know what to say, so we didn't say a lot. We wanted to just listen. So the thing that I learned from that was just, and it's funny as a social media person, to just unplug and talk to people did so much for us from a strategy standpoint. We just went and talked to the few people who were in the terminal about what do you need? And really quickly it became clear. How many of you guys, just quick show of hands, how many of you guys flew in 2020? Okay, not a lot. Did it feel kind of like Mad Max, the movie? You know what I'm talking about? Just lawless, crazy passengers and people everywhere. But so we injected humanity into what we said because everybody, myself included, needed that so bad. We were, we're not just airport employees, we're also human beings who exist in the world. In 2020, that was coronavirus, that was George Floyd. Like, we were experiencing these things along with you, and we just sorely needed that moment of humanity. So our posts started having human faces, or at least the top half of them. Andy, in our guest experience department, graciously volunteered to be the guinea pig for a few of these. And so when we started putting out public health communication, it was about the humans of RDU and the humans who were going in through the airport doors every day. It wasn't about airplane pictures. It wasn't about, hey, we can come fly to Mexico for this amount on this day. We would get to that, but first we had to solve this problem. And so 2020 was the year of survive. 2021 was our year of, hey, we're going to get back to business. We didn't know how or when or if it was even possible, but we tried. And so we started turning the lights back on different products, like parking lots, the observation deck, which this is probably our most popular post of the year, if you can believe it. It wasn't like super fancy, but man, that place was packed that day. We thought about ordering a food truck, but yeah, it was just, people were just so excited to get some normalcy back in their lives. And we, from a social media messaging perspective, wanted to just drill down to that humanity. Like, this is what people care about. So we really kind of leaned into that. Like, we asked people, what do you need? Again, that refrain is becoming familiar. And one of the things we heard was that, you know, we had a lot of new flyers. I mean, if you've been to the airport recently, this is still the case. We used to be a business airport. We're not really that anymore. I call it a bleisure airport. We're business, but a really healthy dose of leisure. So these are all people who, a lot of them had never flown with RDU. Some of them had never flown, period. So we wanted to try new ways to deepen that relationship with people. One of the ways we did that, we started a podcast. It's called The Fly Angle. We are still one of, I think, now 3 airport podcasts in the world, which is a pretty healthy number. It's like 300% increase, right? 30 minutes every month, me and my coworker get on the microphones. We get a guest from around the community or around the airport campus, and we just drill as deep as we can into airport life. You know, what's it like to just close your eyes and hear the terminal, you know, on any given day? And it's been great. I mean, the feedback has been incredible. We've had all sorts of crazy guests from, you know, all corners of the airport, FAA, TSA, too. We had the CEO of Raleigh Brewing came on, which was fun because we got to talk about my other favorite topic, beer. So, and so if 2021 was the recovery year, 2022, we were going to synthesize all that stuff that we learned by shutting up and letting our customers tell us what they needed into a, you know, social media strategy. And so I'm going to really quickly go through this chart. It's the only chart, I promise. We're a chart people at the airport. These blue bars you see here are the volume of inbound messages that we have year over year. And the one at the end, 2022, is 9 months worth. What you can see there is that number just continues to go up. Now, what I'll remind you, in that teal line graph, that's the number of enplanements per year. So really quickly, you see an odd trend. 2019 was our banner year, right? That's the most passengers we had ever had as an airport. We also had a record for the number of inbound messages. Well, even though our enplanements went down, our inbound volume just absolutely exploded. So this is a behavioral shift in how people are interacting with the airport. It's probably not just happening here. It's happening at every airport. It's happening with Wake County. It's happening with Durham County. It's happening with Frontier. People, you know, when they think about customer service and that human interaction, they're going there first. They're not calling us. They're not emailing our customer service desk. They're tweeting at us. They're DMing us on Instagram, asking, you know, what the line is going to be at TSA the next day. So those are just, you know, it's just part of what we are. And we started saying, okay, well, look, we can do that, but let's take it a step further. Where can we go and find conversations with people who don't even know yet that they can be interacting with us in a digital sense? So we are now the first and only airport on Reddit. Any Redditors here? I actually gave this presentation at an airport conference, and they were like, "What's Reddit?" So we are now still the only airport on Reddit. But it's been, you know, it's amazing. We went in there to listen. We don't post anything. We just hop in random topics and reply as the airport, the royal we. And it's a lot of surprise and delight, and I mean, it's been amazing. We will probably be doing this forever because of how the reception was, with people just saying, you know what, I'm so glad you're here. And that's all we ever wanted. So if you leave with 2 things today, one is, before you ever type a tweet out, just talk to your customers. Just find out what they need. And the other thing is, if you take one other thing here from me today, it's that Raleigh-Durham is not a city. And I have oh, wait, hang on. I promised you no memes. I have one meme. Maybe not. I think it got swallowed by the PowerPoint. Oh, no. That's all right. That's what I've got. I'm really upset. That was a great meme.
Thank you. Questions for Jake? Probably not about how your flights will be next week, busiest travel week, right?
It will be very busy. Get here very early. So,
questions? We'll go right here.
Thank you for a great presentation, and
Thanks.
Thank you for leading the way, as it were, in airport society. What is the biggest chatter topic or the biggest complaint you get as far as Raleigh-Durham Airport?
The biggest complaint we get is that we are growing fast. Everybody has an idea of what they want the airport to be, and it's usually the most recent time. It's a time that they went to the airport in the past, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news. That RDU is gone. Like, we are growing so fast, just like this community is, and so our job, our mission, is to figure out how to do that sustainably. And that's not just on, in real terms of, how fast can we build a runway or how fast can we build a parking deck. It's how can we sustainably scale up our customer service online. So it's just making sure that, so we talk about, you've ever heard us use the phrase world-class experience in the news? It's a really real thing. It's actually our mission. We encode it in everything we do. And so it extends to social media. It's that, the experience that you want from RDU, we can't let that degrade just because more people are coming. So that's probably it.
Does your social media presence have an impact on airliners communicating and reaching out to you for, competing for that space at your airport?
Yeah, we're a little bit, sure. They kind of do their own thing sometimes, and not all airlines are created equal. I will preface this by saying that we love all of our airline partners. But they are not all created equal. Some of them are hungrier on social media, and we recognize that. We will interact with them accordingly. We have great relationships with all of the people behind the accounts that you see. I'm personal friends with the main social guy at Southwest, for example. Whenever I'm in Dallas, I stop in to see him. But it's RDU's a hot ticket. We're growing fast, so they very much want to be a part of it. I'll give you an example. If you've been watching the news the last week or so, we just announced a crew base for Avelo Airlines, which is an upstart airline. We just announced a new airline itself that will start in February called Breeze. They are new airlines, and they were not born in the traditional sense of, we have to call the paper and tell them that we have a press release for them. No, they announced those routes on TikTok. So we're kind of reacting accordingly.
Do you guys do anything special for international?
Yeah, we actually had an international debut today, which is why I'm wearing the suit. I'm sorry, guys. Bahamas Air actually launched their flight to Freeport, Grand Bahama today in Nassau. So if you need a flight to warmer weather today, like I do, you could start. Yeah, so international air service has grown precipitously in the last year. Probably the biggest success story we've had post-pandemic is Iceland Air. Are you guys familiar with their new flight? They launched that service. It's our third transatlantic after London and Paris on a 737, which still blows my mind that they can fly, halfway to Europe on a pretty regular plane. And they have now extended the service twice. They announced it actually yesterday that they are extending it. The new season, they're moving it. They were going to start it in May. Now they're starting it in March. And that's just because the community has had that much enthusiasm for it. So we just kind of want to mirror that enthusiasm. We talk about Iceland a lot on our Twitter account. We have I've used more Google Translate in the last year of my life than I ever thought I would. But yeah, it's been great. Those international partners are growing fast, and we just want to make sure that they are getting the word out. So yeah.
Two things real quick. You talked about communicating directly in the airport with your customers. Do you offer an opportunity for someone to call the airport and talk to a person, a real person? And then the other thing, what do you visualize as your top 3 goals in communication with the social media?
That's a great question. Let me try to unpack the first one. So yes, before social media was ever a concept at RDU, they had a guest experience department. That department is still thriving today. You can call them anytime. The number's on, I don't have that off the top of my head, it's at rdu.com. Those guys are staffed 24/7. And actually, from a social media perspective, one of the things that we learned during the pandemic, and because of that chart I showed you, is that we can't do it all. I'm usually one of one when it comes to social. Like, I'm the strategy guy, the guy who's posting it, the guy often who's responding to you. And so I like sleep. And so I let them do a lot of work. Sometimes I will quickly push an inbound message off to them because they're the subject matter experts. So you can absolutely still call them. In fact, I'd encourage it. They're smarter than I am. So the other part about like our top 3 communication goals rather, to inform and educate is always going to be our number one. The way that we're structured, we actually don't have a revenue goal in our division. We're just here to make sure that you know what's happening at the airport, what the airport is doing in the next month, year, 10 years. So that's the big one, inform and educate. And then, other goals, just making sure that you get to the airport 2 hours early and that you use Raleigh-Durham correctly. So.
One final question right here.
Thank you for the talk. Do you have a mascot? And if not, why not?
Did you say a mascot? Oh, God. Well, that's a great, oh man, I haven't thought about that before. We should. I'm partial to Stormy and Woolly Bullets. It's a hard thing to top. We're open to suggestions. I guess maybe like it used to, 2 years ago it was an unruly passenger. But, so send your feedback to communications@rdu.com or tweet at us at RDU Airport, because we will absolutely take that straight to the CEO tomorrow.
I think your list of goals just changed. Thank you, Jake.